Hey guys, welcome to this special interview that we have here for you today. Now, if you are a investor or even an entrepreneur or really just anybody that's growing your net worth, it's so important for you to understand how structuring trust and making sure everything is set up in your world properly. And today we have one of the foremost experts in this space. His name is Clint Coons. He is one of the co-founders of Anderson Business Advisors. He has a YouTube channel out there that you've got to go check out. This guy has helped tens of thousands of people understand and best structure their world for them and what they're trying to do with their goals, long-term goals. And he's an expert in the world of trust, specifically in the world of real estate. But today we're going to dive into the world of private investing and how you need to be thinking about all this. There's not a lot of people out there talking about it. And so, as Clint and I have been building a friendship over the last few months, and him and his team are actually reviewing some of my stuff, going to help me make sure I'm properly structured all the way. I thought, man, this is a perfect guy to get in front of my audience to hear about the world of structuring and help them think on how to rework their world to make sure they're set up for success in the long run. So, hope you enjoy this conversation. Let's dive in. Clint, how you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing well, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Oh, so good to have you on. Thank you so much for carving out time. I know you're a busy man, but we got a lot of ground to cover here today. So, um, in a nutshell, I mean, I gave a little bit off the intro, but if someone says, "Hey, Clint, what do you do, man? What's your focus? What do you tell them?"
Gosh, I do a lot of things, right? I invest in real estate. That's it. I run an active business here at Anderson Business Advisors, and I help people structure their assets to ensure that they're minimizing taxes and building out a plan. This is what I tell people all the time. I am an attorney, and what I think separates me apart from so many other attorneys out there is that there's this approach everyone takes, or professionals. If you go to a CPA, they tell you how to reduce your taxes. You go to an attorney, they tell you how to set up an entity, maybe to run your business. But what neither of these guys are typically sharing with you is, how do you create a plan that's going to help you achieve your goals? What does it take to get there? And oftentimes the taxes is at odds with the structure. They're not working in harmony. I've told people over and over again, if you set up the right plan, because that's really what it is. It's not setting up an entity, it's creating the right plan for yourselves. It'll help you get more done. And I've learned that myself the hard way, unfortunately, from when I started back in 99. And once I figured it out and turned it around, well, things got a lot better.
So would you say, because I mean, the question I want to lead off here is like, hey, everybody wants to know, like, what am I doing right and what am I doing wrong? And what's maybe one of the biggest mistakes? And maybe that's it, is they're not thinking holistically with the plan. And so when you see it over and over again, what's one of the biggest mistakes you often see investors making when it comes to structuring their world?
What they do is they just think they need an LLC, right? They say, that's it, set it up and I'm done. You ask them, why are you setting up the LLC? And most of them don't even know what type of LLC they have. If we brought in 10 people that had an LLC right now onto this video with us, and you said, what type of LLC, they would respond as this: it's an LLC. Not even understanding that there are nuances to it. So the thing is that everyone just creates this, and this herd mentality keeps going in that direction because the internet, Instagram, social media all talks about it. And I think that's the biggest mistake, because people don't understand, in creating this structure, what you should be doing is creating a system, right? Understanding what you're trying to accomplish. And then you build the system around that. And you just don't run out and create an entity until you understand what that entity can do for you or to you. People don't see it from that standpoint, that it actually and these can harm or hamper your ability to grow.
Yeah, that's good. Well, let's talk specifically. Let's kind of pivot straight to the private investing world. A lot of the people watching this are already investors who invest alongside me, or somebody who's maybe thinking about investing in private companies for the very first time. And I know you've had some experience with private equity and specifically selling a company to private equity, which is a cool experience. But in the world of private equity, what are some things that investors should be thinking about? Because I know people are investing with credit cards and some different. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can do this, and a lot of wrong ways and a lot of right ways. And so, with the eye towards the private investing world, what's a nugget or two that you could give us that people go, "Oh, I didn't even think about it that way."
So this goes back to what we started with, right? What's your goal? Why are you making this investment? Is it to create wealth for yourself? And then you're in that wealth is you're going to turn it into income when there's a liquidity event and the asset goes public and you're able to sell, those shares are transferred into your account? Or is it something you're thinking about, hey, I want to hold this long term and I want to then parlay that. I want to continue to do more of this because my time horizon is 15 years before I intend to retire and start benefiting. So looking at that person, and then building a plan to help them get there. And I'll give you a quick example. Maybe we're getting a little ahead here. So if somebody came to me and I started asking them questions about what they want to do, most likely if they said, "Hey, I want to invest, and when there's a liquidity event, I'm going to sell." Right? Boom. I'm going to dump everything. Okay, great. Well, what are you going to do with the money? If you tell me, "Hey, I need it to live on, or I'm going to go out and buy a house, or some things I want to do, send my kids to college," that's a different structure. And generally, what I would tell you is in that case, I would look at creating either a LLC in Wyoming or Delaware. Now, I know we just said everyone just says create LLCs, but I'm listening to what you want to do and I'm building a plan around your investing. If you're wondering why I picked out those two states, it has to do with the benefits. You see, if you invest in your own name, which you can do, the risk you run is that if anything were to happen in your life, let's say you're involved in a car accident, you have a business dispute, you go through a divorce, or your child runs into someone on their bicycle and injures them, and then you're going to be named as a defendant in a lawsuit. The question then becomes that investment you made that you expect to get a 5x, 10x, 15x, whatever it is, return on it. Somebody's going to see that as an opportunity to enrich themselves because that can be transferred to them. They can take that from you. So what you want to do is you want to set up a structure to hold that interest that stops these individuals from being able to reach in and grab what you have invested into. So the reason I choose Wyoming or Delaware is because they offer something that's referred to as charging order protections, which I'm going to make it real simple. What it means is this: you can't touch my stuff. All right. It's put beyond your reach. I can sell it. I can keep all the cash. You can't get it. But if you keep that interest in your old name, then it's exposed. So the other part about if you're going to invest long term, we'll probably get into that. So I'll hold that answer because I'm sure some people are going, "Well, what does he mean by that?"
That's one of the things that I really wanted to make sure I hear from you because I think people who are so new to this, they're like, "Oh yeah, cool. I'll throw 5 or 10 grand. I'll learn here," but they're doing it in their name instead of doing it under an entity, which obviously makes things very, very different. So that's great stuff right there. Okay, let's talk about. I would love to know some of the types of structures. I know you're talking about LLCs. What are some things that maybe? I mean, you're talking about LLC. We're starting there, but from a holistic perspective, maybe what are a couple other components that people need to be thinking about when it comes to trust? And I know there's a rabbit hole we can go down, but what other pieces that maybe you often see people don't talk about that we should cover right now?
Well, first off, let me just go with the no-go zone. Okay. And that is you do not want to hold this interest inside of a C corporation. I've seen people make that mistake before. You know, you have your a business set up. Maybe it is in a C corporation right now. And then you go out and you make this investment with your business account. And then you trap that future income into that corporation. And it creates tax problems for you. So that's a no-go for me. Now, as far as holding the interest, we talked about the LLC entity, but then, what happens to that entity itself? Do you own it in your own name or do you hold it somewhere else? And typically that somewhere else would be a living trust because what we're also building here for a lot of the clients that I work with is that they want to create generational wealth. They want to build something not for only for the day, but for tomorrow as well. And being a good steward of your wealth requires that you think about that. And that's where a living trust can really shine. It can provide a lot of benefits for you because it allows you to ensure that what you've created today has meaning after you're no longer here by passing it on in a way that I like, sometimes they say control, but it'll ensures that the people that come after us respect what you built today and that will not be wasted. So that's a really important tool that should go hand in hand. Um, the other thing I want to talk about is when we get into taxes on this. You should be thinking about other types of trust strategies as well. Charitable remainder trust is a huge one for people in this category.
Yeah, that's so good. Let's talk taxes because I know there's certain ways that you really can position yourself really in a great way or go, whoops, I had no idea the tax advantages or disadvantages that happen on the other side of this thing. So please unload on me whatever you can there from that information from a tax side of things.
Okay, so here's the first thing. I see this all the time. People will, they sell a biz or they have an interest in the VC or whatever it is. It goes public. They get this stock, it runs up, and they're sitting there thinking, "Oh, I got to sell." All right, because I want to take some of that money. I want to go buy something else. When you sell, that's a taxable event for you. So you're going to have to pay taxes depending on your holding period, short term or long term capital gains. Now, from someone who's a tax attorney, I think, well, how could we do that without paying taxes? Well, if you leave it in your brokerage account, maybe you borrow against it, right? You use your margin, you take out that cash or 50% of that, and then that is non taxable to you. So now you have 50%, you can go and reinvest it in a different place. So you're still riding the company you're invested into, fully vested there. You got out 50% of the cash and you can put it somewhere else. So you're kind of doubling down, so to speak, with that investment. But there's another set of people who will say that, you know what? I think that there's not much room left for this thing to run. I mean, you take SpaceX, for example, right? Within 3 days, it dropped back down. So, what does that mean? Well, the investor that thought he was going to get a huge run up, he did. But if he didn't sell right away within day one, all right, it pulled back. And so you missed out on that opportunity. So, if you're looking at selling because right away, right out the bat, you don't want that risk of the run and then the pullback, then there's this great tool that I was alluding to. And I've set up many of these structures for people who are in this exact same position. It's referred to a charitable remainder trust. And when I throw out the word charity, people think, "Oh, I'm not ready for that." I am charitably motivated, but not today. Maybe in the future when I have a whole bunch more. But let's take it real simple. Let's assume that I made an investment, a modest investment of $50,000 and I hit a home run. I know we don't talk about that. I mean, doubles, triples, those are great. But you get a home run. So now your $50,000 investment is worth $500,000. Something simple. If you were to sell that, depending on how long you held it, you're looking at paying somewhere between $100,000, maybe up to $150,000 in taxes. So what you have left to reinvest in something else has just been 20 to 25% of that has been taken away from you. So what if I could give you an entity where you could sell it, pay zero tax? So you get zero tax. So you get the full 500. You don't owe the IRS, the state, anything. So you have $500,000 you could reinvest somewhere else. But at the same time, when you put it in to the trust, the IRS is so happy with you, they're going to give you a tax deduction, okay, for 10% of the asset's value. So in my case, you get a $50,000 tax deduction. So not only do you not pay any tax, you get a tax deduction. Now, what is this all tied to? Well, what it's tied to is the fact that when you pass away, you've pledged whatever remains in this trust to go to a charity of your choosing. So until you pass away, for the rest of the remainder of your lifetime, and if you're married, your spouse's lifetime, you're going to be drawing that asset down. Meaning, the trust will pay you out money for the rest of your life, and you're in control of that money. So you can reinvest it in the trust. You're taking an income stream out of the trust, and yes, the income will be taxable to you. And then when you pass away, whatever's left goes to a charity. Most people choose to set up their own private foundation, which then passes to their children who run it and pull out the remaining income out as salary. So once you grasp what you can do with the tax code and using entities like I just shared with you, I mean, this is what the wealthy do, and this is how they avoid paying tax, and they're able to amass a large portion much quicker than ordinary people, is because they use tools like I've just described. They realize, hey, paying no tax on something and having all that left to reinvest, my wealth will grow so much faster than the guy who's losing 20 to 30% every time he sells.
Wow, Clint, that is so good. I think for everybody watching right now, hopefully they're going, wow, I did not know that. And this is why I'm excited to be working with your team and help you guys help me get structured properly, make sure everything's in the right spot. So my guess is more than likely the people you're talking to, they're not having these conversations with their attorneys or their CPAs right now. Everybody's just kind of, oh yeah, do this little deduction here, maybe pay your kids or whatever, and then they're moving on with their life. I mean, is that typically what you're hearing from most of the clients that you're working with?
Yeah, that's pretty common because what happens is that most people, they don't work with a strategist. So they're not sitting down with someone who's analyzing their situation. And I see this a lot. I actually had a CPA a couple of years back call me and complained about the way we structured several people that were now working with him from the tax side, which I was surprised because we have a tax department inside of our own firm. But whatever the reason is that he did not understand that the way we structured these clients, many of them had C corporations, which I told you wasn't great for this type of investing, but it was great for what they were doing, creating a business, why we would do that. And it came down to when he was questioning this one person, I said, "Well, you know what they plan to do next year?" Because he's telling me it should have been an S corp or a disregarded LLC because she's losing money, and they now, because of the fact that they're losing money, all the losses are locked in the C corporation. It's not showing up on their 1040. So I cost this client $12,000 in taxes because they wouldn't have had to pay it if they were set up a different way. And I said, "Stop. Do you know what they want to do next year?" He had no idea. And I said, "They want to buy a personal residence. They want to buy a home." So the difference between the way we approach things is that you look at it from the tax side. I look at it, how am I going to help them accomplish their lifetime goal, which is get their first personal residence. So if we do what you're telling me, that's going to reduce their taxable income, which is going to reduce their house size. I want to keep their taxable income high. I don't want any losses showing up on their tax return because then they can't borrow as much. So they can't get that 3-bedroom house. Now they get a 2-bedroom home. They're not going to be happy with that. I said, more importantly, having worked with lenders and growing my own portfolio, when a lender sees that you have your own business and your business is losing money, they don't want to lend to you. And I know that's in the real estate context, but it's in a much broader context overall, is that understanding what your client is striving for, then you need to then develop a plan and a system around what they're trying to accomplish with what they have today and where they want to be tomorrow, and then move forward that way. Because as I said, entities will help you get somewhere much quicker than they will without them. You just have to know how to use them effectively.
Man, Clint, this is all such good stuff. I want to go back though. I mean, obviously you're an attorney, you have all these answers now. I wonder if you were starting all over today, and maybe even from your earliest days, did you start off structuring everything this way? And maybe what advice would you give to somebody who's listening? Is like, oh my gosh, I don't have anything structured right now. Maybe they're hearing this and they feel overwhelmed. What like I'd love to hear a little bit more about your journey, and then obviously the advice you'd give to somebody watching.
Yeah, I would have done it completely different, the way I started out. And the great thing about that, though, is I learned by doing it wrong how to do it right. Because I cost myself so many opportunities because I got so focused on taxes, reducing my taxes down to zero, that as a result of that, I couldn't grow and I couldn't scale as quickly as I'd like to, because lenders didn't want to work with me. And that's what I needed access to, was capital. And so then once I figured this out, how to create the structures the right way and how to plan that out, it really, what you saw was an acceleration of my growth in my business. In fact, I wrote a few books, and one of the things I wrote, talk about in the book, is that understanding that opportunity that exists out there, that you need to balance all three of those things: asset protection, business planning, and tax planning, to make sure you can get to where you want to go. So much so that when you're looking at, as we're talking about events, you have a plan for that event. So, as you alluded to at the very beginning, I did sell a business to private equity. And I knew going into that transaction what I planned to do with those funds, so that I could then give myself some breathing room, that they weren't immediately taxable. I set up a structure to defer recognition on that. And I had other owners in there, they were just paying taxes right away on that money. So they had less available for them to invest with and to find other opportunities for. I just took the tax code. Create an opportunity zone fund, had it all set up ready to roll, so that when that hit, I could roll the money into that, no taxes due, go out there and find a piece of property to invest in. And then you could roll that money into the property. And again, you defer your taxes for 5 years. Well, I couldn't find the property and I tried, but so I did end up paying taxes on it a lot sooner than I intended to, but it wasn't for lack of effort. See, the thing is that I had created a system that gave me breathing room and opportunities and planning that other people did not have, because they were staring down that clock where they had to, make a payment. So that's what I'm looking for when I'm working with someone, to show them how to get there.
Yeah, good. So, I mean, obviously a lot of this sounds can probably sound overwhelming, but I'm sure, obviously you've been doing this for years. You've helped tens of thousands of people. Help me with, you know, what is the simple next step advice that you would give to somebody who's going, okay, if I don't, I set up a structure a long time ago. It's probably maybe not where I'm at now, or I've never set up a structure and I'm thinking about getting started.
Well, I tell them this: reach out, set up a strategy session with us, or come to one of my events and learn more, because knowledge is going to empower you. It's going to expose you to what is possible, because right now you don't know. I recently cut a video for my YouTube channel that you mentioned. I just finished it up, and I start off, I said, hey, before you set up your next LLC, stop, don't do it. because you don't know all these things that could impair your ability to scale and could create more problems for you down the road. So oftentimes it's not a one size fits all. And that is the mistake I see so many investors make. They think that, hey, I just do this one thing and it works for everyone. As you've indicated, people are unique and they've got structures they set up in the past, and maybe those need to be looked at and they need to be tweaked now because things in their life have changed. It doesn't mean scrapping it, it means fine tuning it. Because we can fine tune it and we can squeeze a little more out of it, you're going to be better off for it.
You mentioned about a live event you've got coming here in the next few days, and I think it's gonna be an awesome opportunity for people to learn more, dive in, really get the nitty-gritty of what's happening. Can you talk a little bit more about when that is and what they're gonna be learning from that?
Yeah. So we're holding it on Saturday. And here's what's going to happen. When you come to that event, listen, come with an open mind and come ready to cramp your finger because we're going to be dumping a ton of information. It'll be like drinking from a fire hose because we want to get so much into there to show you how businesses can work for you and not against you. And so we'll teach you the strategies that we use here at Anderson, for myself, even on how I protect my assets, how I create an anonymous structure. That means if you look me up, you wouldn't know what I have because there's little techniques you can utilize in setting up structures so it takes them off the public radar. And there's no reason why someone needs to know what I have. And not only we're going to teach you those strategies, then we're going to shift gears and we're going to talk about the importance of estate planning, how to protect it all so you can pass it on in a safe and secure manner. And then we're going to finish the day up with tax planning. And everybody loves that section. We're going to show you some simple tweaks that you can do in 2026 that I guarantee you will easily put several $1,000s back in your pocket if you just use one of them. But we will teach you at least 7 to 10 different strategies, and if you take all 7 to 10, who knows? I mean, you could be upwards of $50 to $60,000 in deductions that you've been missing out on. We're going to show you how to get there, and that's what the benefit of that event.
Wow, Clint, it's very generous of you, man. Thank you so much, guys. If you haven't got a chance yet, click the link that we'll have in your email or down in the video below where you can go sign up for this free workshop. Clint, thank you so much for your time, man. It's just so valuable to hear some of these insights from a pro like you who's been in the space for so long, man. It really, really means a lot.
Hey, thanks for having me. And guys, click on that link, move ahead, get your stuff set up the right way.
Love it. Thanks, Clint. All right, guys, we'll catch you in the next video. I can't wait to hear what you do when you take the next steps to structuring your life in the right way and taking control of your future. Thanks. We'll see you next time.